Warning, censorship. Warning, censorship.
I mean, you walk through a store nowadays without a mask on, and you definitely
Right.
get some interesting looks. And so, yeah. And so then I was on camera, and so that that was kind of interesting. And I guess the store decided to help out when the cop showed up after I'd already left. We talked for just a few minutes, and they asked me for my ID. And I was like, I mean, I'm not driving a vehicle, so I don't need to give you my ID. And so I said I would rather not. And he's like, oh, that's okay. And so he ran off to his truck, came right back with the ticket, driver's license filled out, everything is like it was done. And we weren't sure, but we thought they might have stalked the yard, like just come by and made like a tour the other night.
In Manitoba these days, you can end up on the wrong side of the law for just buying groceries in your local store without a mask. But the people locking you down, well, they can tootle across the prairies and off into British Columbia like they're on some sort of vision quest walkabout in a car with their families. Because up is down, black is white, right is wrong these days during the coronavirus pandemic. Radisson, Manitoba MLA James Teetsma went to Saskatchewan, Alberta, and British Columbia, where I think he had a little bit of problems with his cell reception when he tried to post his belated Christmas greetings from his family car after the Manitoba government put the province into hard lockdown over Christmas. And that hypocrisy is particularly appalling when I spend my days helping people from Manitoba who have received expensive coronavirus tickets for just doing completely normal things that were completely legal just 10 short months ago. Let me introduce you to Phil Neufeld, a severely normal Manitoba man who is mask exempt and who got in trouble for buying groceries. You see, the grocery store used his loyalty card to identify him to the police and then sent the police to his house to ticket him. Check out Phil's story. Phil, what were you doing when you got the ticket?
I was shopping for groceries.
And so what were the circumstances around getting groceries?
There was nothing special going on. I think Janice, my wife, called me and said, hey, can you pick up something on your way through town? I was like, sure, I'll pop in. So we've had numerous discussions with the management at our local co-op and talking about mask exemptions and all of this type of stuff. And he was good with it. He said, yeah, I mean, you gotta shop for your family food. I mean, this is necessities. And so, yeah, we ended up, I popped in, and I'm assuming somebody called it in, whether it was from store management staff or the bystanders, because I mean, you walk through a store nowadays without a mask on, and you definitely get some interesting looks. And so, yeah. And so then I was on camera, and so that was kind of interesting. And I guess the store decided to help out when the cop showed up after I'd already left. And so
They they pulled surveillance footage of you like you were a shoplifter or a common criminal and gave it to the police. And then I guess so the police came to your house after the fact and ticketed you?
yeah. So then it was 10 o'clock on the 27th of November, and we were just finishing up reading Bible and just about to put the kids in bed. And so we yeah, saw these two cop cars come. I say whipping onto the yard because I mean our yard, we've got cats and different things. We're an acreage, and so then yeah, they came up to the door and knocked, and I even I even went and I was like, oh, I don't know if I feel comfortable answering the door, with all the stuff going on. And they looked at me, or looked at me through the door, and was like, we just want to chat, it's okay. And so whatever, I put my slippers on and my sweater, and I went and took a very timid position down the steps from them, sat there and discussed this mask violation. And they were like, oh, you've been in the store twice. And so I'm assuming, I don't know if you're familiar with the co-op grocery stores and
Oh
different
yeah.
things, but they have a number that they
Yeah.
issue you, right? And so this number, I'm assuming they pulled it just to see, oh yeah, he was in earlier and that was still code red. And so then they felt, 2 violations must have been enough to warrant coming out and visiting me. And so
I was wondering how they knew it was you and how they knew it was you twice, and it was your co-op number. Wow. So, what was the amount of your ticket?
it's $298 even. And so yeah, which again isn't, the money isn't the biggest issue. It was, uh, I know people that don't do anything. They're just completely confined to their houses because of this. And I was like, I mean, I work construction. I'm always out and about doing things, and sometimes you just can't comply to the nth degree. And so I was like, yeah, we'll just keep talking to our local management, and as long as they're okay with everything, then just continue on. And so I guess at this point, whoever was running the camera, they decided to help the police out. I don't know if there was a warrant involved or different things of that nature, but
Can you imagine? Can you imagine the investigative resources they spent tracking you down as though you were like a serious criminal enterprise, and all you did was you didn't wear a mask, and it's not anybody's right to ask you why you weren't. Phil, this is crazy, and that's why, even though your ticket is $300, I'm extending an offer to you that we are going to help you fight this fine at no cost to you. I mean, it's just after Christmas that we're talking to each other. Everybody's got Christmas bills. It sounds like you're still working, which is a blessing. But I'd much rather have you spend that $300 on your family or your bills, whatever you want. It's none of my business. And we will crowdfund the legals to help you fight this fine, because we think it's nobody's business why you weren't wearing a mask, and I definitely think the police have much better things to do.
it was crazy. Like when they came and we talked for just a few minutes, and they asked me for my ID, and I was like, I mean, I'm not driving a vehicle, so I don't need to give you my ID. And so I said I would rather not. And he's like, oh, that's okay. And so he ran off to his truck, came right back with the ticket, driver's license filled out, everything is like, it was done. And we weren't sure, but we thought they might have stalked the yard, like just come by and made like a tour the other night just to see if the truck was around or whatever. And so it was like, man, for $300, they're just like, I don't know, they're loving it. And so I told the officers, I was like, your boss is telling you have to wear a fashion statement on your face. And I said, I don't have a boss that tells me that, because I am my own boss. And so I said, like, if you guys want to do that, that's up to you. But it wasn't. It's against our charter of rights and freedoms. And so it makes no sense. And yeah, it was interesting. They just adamantly said, like, we want no discussion of this. And I was like, well, I mean, I feel bad for you guys. I have up until this point loved and respected the RCMP, and I told these two officers that plain as day, and they were like, no, we're not here to discuss anything of that, and just kind of gave me my ticket. And the one officer, the quieter one, he comes right up, almost shoulder to shoulder to me as I'm holding the ticket, and kind of like, well, okay, you've got these options. And so he talked through the options with me, just within a foot of me. And it was like, okay, well, obviously you're not worried about, much of what's going on. And then he just expressed that it's like, you can argue and you can, go to court over this. And I was like, okay, well, at least he was doing his due diligence as far as like giving me and making sure I understood what I can do to fight this. And so, but it was definitely an interesting day. You have to stand up for your rights and freedoms. No one else is going to do it on your behalf. This time, it's like you can just see, like, I mean, if you're preemptively looking at the future at all, this is a precursor. And so if we allow this to be dictated and just comply, I mean, we're talking churches that just drives me absolutely insane. Our
Yeah.
church is closed. Yeah, and if we're not fighting now, then we're not going to fight later. And so we have to stand up as communities, as yeah, Canadians, and make sure that everybody understands what their options are and willing to stand for them. Is it's crazy.
I only wish the police would do that level of heavy duty investigation, matching surveillance footage to transactions and then matching the transaction to the loyalty card and then matching the loyalty card to the person's address to deal with real criminals, not people who are buying groceries without a piece of cloth over their face. It's so dumb, and that's why I'm so proud to say that we are helping Phil fight back. Phil's not going to pay his ticket, the ticket he sent to me at fightthefines.com. He's going to plead not guilty, and we are going to put Phil in touch with a top criminal lawyer. And Phil's going to fight his fine in court, and in doing so, hopefully make Manitoba and then Canada just a little more free for everybody else, not just the politicians on their family Christmas vacations. Now, if you'd like to help cover Phil's legal costs, please go to fightthefines.com where you can donate. And at that same website, if you are an unfortunate soul like Phil who received a ticket for just living your normal life in these very abnormal times, you can submit it there too at fightthefines.com. For Rebel News, I'm Sheila Gunn Reid. If you received a coronavirus violation ticket, don't pay it. Fight it. Plead not guilty and send it to me at fightthefines.com. And if you want to help us help people like Phil and hundreds of other people fight for their civil liberties, you can donate at that special website, fightthefines.com.